Good evening, everyone. We'll go ahead and call tonight's regular board meeting to order. If you would, Renee, show everybody present. If you would join us in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Madam President, at this time, per our policy, the first board meeting of every calendar year, we do a reorganization of the board. And so to begin that process this evening, I guess I would ask for nominations for president. Do I have any nominations?
I move to nominate Mark Pavey for president.
Do I have a second? Second. Seconded by Mr. Sayerly. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor as Mark Pavey as board president for 2014, please raise your right hand. Approved. 7-0. Congratulations, President Pavey.
Thank you. Thank you.
You want to trade me seats?
No, I can stay right here.
I think you need to trade me seats.
All right, I'll trade you seats. All right, I'd like to open up nominations for vice president.
I'd like to nominate Christina Gilkey.
All right, thank you.
I'll second.
Thank you, Mr. White. Discussion? All right, all in favor? All right, 7-0, thank you.
Thank you.
Nomination for secretary.
I want to nominate Mr. Jerry White and bring a lot of ink pens.
Second.
Thank you, Ms. Kraft.
3.5 years is enough.
All right, any discussion? If not, all in favor? All right, 7-0, thank you.
Board, at this time, another aspect of the reorganization is that we identify both a treasurer and a deputy treasurer, and it would be my recommendation as we play musical chairs.
I wouldn't have voted for you if I knew you were going to move.
It would be my recommendation that Dr. Tom Deichel be named treasurer and Mrs. Joni Roberts deputy treasurer for 2014.
So moved.
Thank you, Ms. Gilkey.
Second.
Thank you, Mr. Satterley. I think I saw your hand first. Any discussions? All right, all in favor? You 7-0, Renee. Thank you. All right, next we need to approve tonight's agenda.
Board salutes.
Sorry, board salutes. Okay. All right, Mr. Howell, would you mind taking care of Parkview?
I would love to.
Thank you.
Steve Tull, Parkview Middle School. The board salutes Parkview Middle School teacher Steve Tull for receiving a $500 McDonald's Mac grant. This grant is awarded to help middle school teachers make activities count for their students. The grants program provides financial support so teachers can supplement regular classroom curriculums with activities that the school's budget may not cover and allow teachers to revitalize their classes with fresh and innovative teaching methods. Mr. Tull will use the grant funds to facilitate a rocket construction and launch project with his students. Congratulations, Mr. Tull.
Mr. Tull, come forward. Thank you. Come over here. Congratulations, President Pavey. Steve, this is a small token of our appreciation for the work that you do. I've seen you teach, I've seen you in practice, and been very impressed. The great attribute of a teacher is how much they care about their kids and how much they can share that passion for their subject with their students, and there's no doubt that you're full of passion for your subject and for your students. So on behalf of the board and our executive team, thank you so much for everything you do, and here's a certificate of recognition. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, Steve.
right, Teresa, would you mind taking Maple Elementary?
I'd be delighted. This is one of my neighborhood schools, and I listen to a lot of the kiddos after this project, so thank you. The board salutes Maple Elementary teacher Katrina Pierce for organizing the school's annual Bears on Parade event. Just the sound of that, you know. Maple Elementary held its 12th annual Bears on Parade event on December the 20th to ensure every student receives a Christmas gift this holiday season or has the opportunity to give a gift to a loved one. Stuffed animals were numbered and lined around the gymnasium, which gives the effect of a parade. Students entered the gym one grade level at a time to visit with Santa and Mrs. Claus. Students then selected a number from Santa's bag, and one of Santa's helpers guided them to find the stuffed animal that matched their number. The event is organized by Mrs. Pierce, and with her efforts, the school has distributed more than 14,000 stuffed animals to students over the past 12 years. Thank you, Ms. Pierce, for your hard work and commitment to Maple Elementary students.
Congratulations, ma'am. I made you laugh. I didn't even try. What was that about? You know, I can tell you firsthand. I want to thank Mrs. Starks for inviting me last year to come to Bears on Parade along with Katrina Pierce. To be able to go to Maple Elementary on that day, to see all of you, the hard work that you've put in to organize that event, to see hundreds of stuffed animals just all over that gym, and more importantly, to see the faces of those students as they come in and they have the opportunity to meet Mrs. Claus and Santa Claus and have Steel Dynamics representatives acting as elves to escort these students to their bears or their stuffed animals. It is probably the highlight of my year, to be totally honest. And so the selfless act, in my opinion, that you have put yourself into this situation to benefit so many kids over so much time. You know, there are stories that I heard from students that may be the only gift that they receive for Christmas. And that tells the whole story. And so I wish I could give you more than this, but know that our hearts are with you, and we so much appreciate you, the staff at Maple Elementary, and Mrs. Stark's leadership for doing something that's just so special for kids. So congratulations and thank you.
Katrina, would you like to introduce your cheering crowd there that you've brought with you, please?
I brought my husband and my daughter Lucy and my other daughter Lily and my mom.
And so kind. I know she has to give up some family time in order to do this, so I'm sure you appreciate their support.
All right. Well, the next subject we are really excited to talk about, it's our District A schools, and so I think Ms. Gilkey is going to talk us through that one.
Be more than happy to. The board would like to recognize schools that received an A letter grade from the Indiana Department of Education for the 2012-13 school year. The A through F accountability report card for schools is figured based on performance, growth, and participation on the iStep Plus assessment. Performance factors include the percentage of students passing English, language arts, and mathematics portions of the test. Growth is measured by the amount of academic progress all students make from spring to spring assessment dates. The grading system holds schools to a very high standard, and each school's staff, students, and parents should be very proud of this accomplishment. Congratulations to our A schools. If you would, when I call your school principals, we'd like you to come up. First is Charlestown High School.
Why don't you take this over, and you want to come over here, and we'll put them all in line, and then we'll...
Jonathan Jennings Elementary. Maple Elementary.
Congratulations. Thank you, Loretta.
New Washington Elementary.
Congratulations, man. Good job.
Riverside Elementary.
Congratulations, Beth.
Spring Hill Elementary.
Congratulations, Brenda.
Thomas Jefferson Elementary.
Congratulations, Jennifer. You want me to? Should we say congratulations?
Utica Elementary.
Congratulations, Kathy.
And principals, if you would, after we call the last one up, we'd like for you all to stay for just a moment because the board would actually like to all come up and shake your hand and show you some appreciation. Last but of course not least, Wilson Elementary.
Congratulations, April. If I could just say a quick comment. The plaque is very deserving, but doesn't even begin to reflect how proud of not only you and your leadership, but your staffs, the students and parents, because none of that happens unless you have the whole community behind this effort. And so it takes leadership, and that's why you're standing here, but we certainly understand and appreciate the staff that make it happen on a daily basis, as well as the students putting forth the effort and the parents supporting that. 9 of our 18 buildings, A schools. That's an improvement of 3 schools over last year, so we're very, very excited about that. And you know our goal is we want all 18 to be A's, but you are definitely leaders of our school corporation in helping us achieve a great milestone, and that is as an A school, as indicated by the state of Indiana. So again, thank you so much and congratulations.
Well, if you throw out enough, one or two of them's bound to fall.
Yeah, he's done for the evening.
Yeah, he's done for the year.
I'm good for the week. Yeah.
Where's my little? You right, Tony.
Ta-da.
And board also, I think I'd be remiss if I didn't at least point out the fact that Utica Elementary as an A school, our current executive director for elementary education, Kim Hartledge, was principal there, as you know, for several years. We greatly appreciate all the work that was put forth by her in her leadership at that level at Utica, and feel very fortunate about Mrs. Gillen being able to carry through and follow up on that level of leadership. So I want to mention that as well.
Thank you.
Congratulations.
All right, well, everyone is certainly welcome to stay around for this exciting meeting, but if you choose to go, that would be perfectly fine. You are excused, and thank you for coming.
Look at them. On that one. Look. Oh, they're sophomore. Aren't they precious?
No, there we go. All right, I think next on the agenda, we have a Harshaw Train Environmental Stewardship Award presentation. So,
At that point, I'd like to call forward representatives from Harshaw Train, and thank you for being here, and thank you for honoring us.
Thank you very much. Sorry
No, yeah, it has no indication.
Good to see you again.
Absolutely.
Harshaw Train's Environmental Stewardship Award is presented each year to a K-12 client of Harshaw Train that shows, displays excellence in the field of environmental stewardship. Very important. It's also very hard work. And I feel very personally involved in this award, and I'm very proud of the fact that you guys are the recipient of this award for this year, because I've been on the front lines. I've been working hand in hand with Dr. Dykle, with Steve Hopkins, with Gus Lucker, Debbie Price, with all the folks in our auxiliary services. I know how hard they work every day to strive for environmental stewardship. Harshaw Train was a company started in 1976. Our focus back in '76 was environmental stewardship. Our focus today is environmental stewardship. Our focus in the future is going to continue to be environmental stewardship. So, on behalf of everybody at Harshaw Train, our entire team, Chris Jaggers, our Cody, Kevin Heiser, and several other folks that could be here with us tonight, I'd like to present this award to you guys. We have this plaque. We also have a tree to be planted where you guys see fit, whenever the weather is probably better. So we'll be in touch on that, on the tree, and we very much value the business partnership that we've developed over the last several years, and we look forward to continuing that.
And I think Gus and Steve need to come up and have their picture taken with that award as well, because we wouldn't be getting that award if it weren't for them. Steve's not here? Well, we'll get Gus up here. All right.
Aaron, do you want to?
I'm not that tree at my office.
I'm not going to be responsible for this. I'm going to do all the things.
Thank you.
Oh.
Yeah, all right. Thanks again. I really appreciate that. You know, Board, I don't think we can underestimate the impact not only of Harshaw Train's efforts, and we greatly appreciate that, but Gus Luckert and the efforts that he's made in terms of saving millions of dollars in terms of reducing energy costs to this district over time. You know, it's sort of an unsung hero, Gus, to this corporation, and we really appreciate the attitude and the personality you bring forth in the working relationships that you establish with our vendors, like Harshaw Train. So thank you so much, Gus, and you and Harshaw Train. Thank you for your partnership. We appreciate it very much.
He needs a better sweater.
You can leave, Gus.
yeah. You can go, Gus. All right. Okay, next item on the agenda is the approval of the agenda. So,
Move to approve.
thank you, Mr. White.
Second.
Thank you, Mr. Satterley. Any discussion? All in favor? All right, thank you. 7-0. And next item is the approval of the minutes from our previous meeting. We'll do all those at one time, unless anyone has an objection, but executive, regular, and special meeting.
So moved.
Thank you, Mr. Hall.
Second.
Thank you, Teresa. Any questions, discussions? All in favor? All right, thank you, 7-0. Dr. Mellon, no public comments tonight?
No
On
public
agenda
comments
items?
on agenda items, no.
Okay. All right, next is the consent agenda, be items 1 through 5. Have a motion?
So moved.
Thank you, Mr. Satterley.
Second.
Thank you, Christina. Discussion. All right. All in favor? All right, 7-0. Thank you. All right, Mr. Satterley, would you mind taking us through gifts to buildings?
No, I would not mind at all, and I wish she hadn't left, our Bears on Parade lady, because she should be on this list, even though it's not a gift to building. It's that was a wonderful. I'd like to have seen it. Next year I want to be there. But once again, we always get something. What are you trying to say? Yeah, well, yeah. I'm moving back over there. Give me trouble down here in this corner. Anyhow, we get donations from various groups, and it always amazes me the Clark County Jail, $5,000 again, which is, we should send Danny, I'm sure we do send him something thanking him, but personally call him and thank him. But once again, we just get so much from the community, it's welcomed, and make a motion to accept.
All right.
Second.
Thank you, Teresa. All right, any discussion? All in favor? Thank you, 7-0. All right. All right, back into action items. Looks like you're up, Dr. Deichel, you're up.
Okay.
Talk about bus donation.
Yes, we've been contacted by Jeffersonville Fire Department, and they wanted to know if we had a bus that we could donate to them for different purposes, training purposes. And we do have a 1997 4x2 bus, one of the small buses. We've scavenged as many parts off of it as possible, and it's just sitting there. We were just going to just junk it. So what we're asking the board's permission is we need two recommendations here. One is we need to declare the bus as being worthless, and then the second recommendation is approving the donation to the Jeffersonville Fire Department. So if we could have both of those,
Does it have to be
separate motions.
separate, or can it be combined?
Separate motions.
Make a motion that we declare the bus in question surplus, and that we donate it to the Jeffersonville Fire Department.
Second.
Thank you, Mr. Hall. All right. Discussion.
What constitutes worthlessness?
Whatever we consider worthless.
Is there not a formula or something?
No, there's no formula. It's just something that we're not using anymore. It's basically not even salvageable for parts, because we've taken everything off of the bus that we can for our buses, and it's just a shell basically now. So the only thing we'd lose is the scrap value on it.
And it's a good partnership.
Yeah.
I'm sure the fire department will put to good
Well,
use.
plus
Training.
they need
Yeah.
to know how to get kids off a bus,
Yes.
and that's, if it just does that.
Mm-hmm.
All right. No further, excuse me, no further discussion. All in favor? All right, thank you. 7-0. All right. Dr. Deichel, looks like you're still up for mileage reimbursement.
Yes, the Internal Revenue Service announced that the standard mileage rate will decrease to 56 cents a mile, driven beginning January 1st, 2014. The current rate was 56.5 cents. So I guess because of the price of gasoline coming down, the IRS decided we don't need that extra half penny. So anything that we reimburse our employees for travel will now get 56 cents for 2014.
Okay. That's pretty standard fare across all companies as well, so.
That's just information only. Yeah.
Okay. All right. And I guess our next item is the truck purchase.
Yes. Several months ago, we presented to the board the bond issue that we wanted to do for $1,880,000, and in there were a variety of things that we needed to do: replace boilers, almost $1 million worth of security improvements that we still needed to do at our schools, and then we also had a variety of vehicles in there. We finally got the bond issue approved. The money is in the bank December 21st, and because of the weather conditions that we were looking at, we couldn't wait until the next board meeting to come to you with this presentation. So we asked Dr. Mellon if we could go ahead and purchase this vehicle ahead of time. We went through the state bid. It was higher than the local bid. So we're asking now if we can go ahead and officially purchase. We've already got it. The salt truck's on it. It's plowing snow. If we could officially purchase now a 2014 Chevy truck from Coyle. It's a 3500. The MSRP was $38,453. We got it for $27,715. So we're asking the commission at this time to make it official.
All right. Have a motion?
So moved.
Thank you, Mr. Satterley.
Second.
Thank you, Mr. White. Discussion? All right. All in favor? All right. Thank you. 7-0.
Thank you.
All right. Looks like the next item is the employee 403B tax sheltered annuity. Ms. Liz?
I believe we addressed this just briefly in one of our discussion meetings, but just to give you additional information, since 2009, the Hartford Edward Jones organizations have provided custodial and record-keeping services for Greater Clark's 403B tax-sheltered annuity plan. Hartford's retirement plan was acquired by Mass Mutual in January of 2013, and changes related to this acquisition include Reliance Trust replacing Hartford Securities as the custodian of the 403B plan. Mass Mutual Retirement Services will serve as the record keeper of the plan, and all investment options remain the same. And there should be no noticeable changes in the customer services to the employees, and the service representatives remain the same. Kevin Bainline and Bill Kaiser with Edward Jones, Ron Denman and Eric Ballinger with Mass Mutual. So basically, to officially document these changes, we recommend that the board approve the following: the Reliance Trust Company as the custodian for the 403B tax-sheltered annuity plan, Mass Mutual Retirement Services, LLC, as the record keeper for the plan, and just a confirmation of the plan's investment opportunities for the 403B plan will remain the same. So that is the recommendation of the superintendent.
Thank you, Ms. Liz. Do you have a motion?
So moved.
Thank you, Ms. Barrow.
Second.
Thank you, Mr. Satterley. Discussion? All right. All in favor? All right. Be 7-0.
Thank you.
Thank you. Next item is revision to policy 5111.1, kindergarten admission, second reading.
That's correct. Presented to you last month was the recommendation that we make a revision to policy 5111.1, kindergarten admission, to change who is responsible for the coordination and information related to early admission to kindergarten. In the past, it's been through the Special Populations Office, and with the addition of Kim Hartledge as our Executive Director of Elementary Education, they're being now processed through her office. So there's been no other changes, and there's been no changes since first reading, so we recommend approval of the policy at this time.
All right, thank you. The motion?
Motion to approve.
Thank you, Mr. White.
Second.
Thank you, Mr. Hall. Discussion? All right, all in favor? 7-0.
I have a question. What is the sign-up date for kindergarten?
The sign-up date for kindergarten?
February 3rd. Okay, that's fine. Thanks.
All right, the next one is revisions to policy 6153, field trips. Looks like a first reading.
That's correct. There's no action needed on this. The changes we're making to the policy are designed to allow field trips that occur during the student day to be approved by the principals, central office administrators, and the superintendent at both the elementary and the secondary levels. This helps us with coordination of paperwork and getting everything in place before the trip occurs, but possibly before it would get to a board for approval. Day-long and overnight field trips will still require approval of the Board of School Trustees. So there's no action needed at this time. If you all have any questions or concerns, I'm happy to answer them.
Any questions?
The question I have, this any field trip then if it's not overnight, can just be, the teacher can go in and say, hey, can I take the kids to the zoo? And the principal says yes. They plan the trip to the zoo.
No, sir.
Not overnight, no, on the day.
No, during the day, they have to still come up here and be approved by a cabinet level member and by the superintendent. Within the school day, they don't require board approval. But if they're going to be outside the school day, like if they're going to be longer than the school day or overnight, they have to be approved by all of those entities plus the board. But just if they happen within the hours related to the student day, they just need the principal, central office administration, superintendent.
The majority of field trips, as you know, Board, are during the day. They don't cover the entire day. We get a lot of those requests. And instead of all those come to you, the thought was just to be more efficient, that we would handle that at my level and at the executive level. However, knowing the day long is usually going to involve maybe charter bus, or it's going to maybe involve an overnight kind of a circumstance, we definitely want you to be part of that process. So it's just, you'd still be involved at that level, but not necessarily involved in some of those what would be more minor trips that wouldn't take as much time during the regular school day.
And we still get an accounting for informational purposes of where our kids are going and what they're doing after the fact is fine, but so we kind of have an idea of what they're up to.
We'd be more than happy to provide a field trip report to you that we could, whether you'd want it yearly or twice a year, we certainly would be happy to provide that document to you.
Thank you.
Item number 12 says that criminal background checks are required for any volunteer participating in an overnight field trip. Do we not do criminal checks on parents or folks who are going to volunteer and go during the day?
We do not for day trips, because they are there with the teacher, and the teachers, the persons like the teacher aides or whoever accompany them. The kids during a day trip are responsible directly back to the teacher of record. And so children are not divided up and left alone with volunteers at that time, you know, during just a day trip. An overnight trip, you might be assigned X number of children that, you know, are under your care and control. But the teacher's supposed to maintain control of all the children on a day-long trip. It's something that just by the sheer number of criminal background checks that we'd have to do, we haven't done those in the past. But, you know, if it's something the board thinks is essential.
So when schools have parent volunteers or grandparent volunteers that come into the building to do reading and all that business, do we not do criminal background checks?
Yes, we do, because that's a regular and a continuing activity.
Okay, but
if it's a one-time field trip, we have not.
My concern is that, you know, you take the fourth grade class from a school to the zoo, and you've got 3 teachers from that, you know, you've got 3 sections. I doubt very seriously if all students are going to stay with their teacher. Maybe they do, and that's a good thing. I hope that's true. But if they don't and they split up, and, you know, Kevin takes 5 and I take 5 and Jerry takes 5, I would hope that we're doing background checks on those people, because I just don't want anything to ever happen under our watch.
And I can add to Teresa's zoo comment directly, in that my wife has been on these trips and has been assigned kids to take 3 or 4 kids. So I think we should do them on everyone that has contact with our children.
That's something that we definitely could. That's luckily why we do first readings, and appreciate that input, and we can go back and look at the details of that and bring something forward to you.
You might ask the elementary principals you know, what kind of a burden that would be. My thoughts are, Kim, that a lot of the parents that you get to go on these trips have already had a background check, because they're in the building all the time anyway. Right. Group.
most of the people already have those, and then they're volunteering.
Right. I'd like for us to look into that, see how much of a burden that would be. And
We can do that.
And the same thing occurred at the Indianapolis Children's Museum. They didn't want the whole group together,
No.
so they divided them up into small groups and sent them off. So I think it's a good
Well, I mean,
idea.
It's a shame we have to think about things like that, but
True.
we do.
Well, I mean, perhaps we could look at a safe span as well and limit the number of volunteers that we allow to go. I mean, you may be able to use some, save some money that way as well. So, I mean, I don't know if there's a recommended span of how many kids a parent or person could watch over, but I mean, maybe we could sort of limit it that way from an expense standpoint. So, I mean, just some things to consider.
Yeah, happy to. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Sandy. All right. Next, we have the LifeSpring agreement. I think Ms. Neff's going to walk us through that.
Very quickly. Basically, we have an agreement with LifeSpring, and they provide us some wraparound services for students in terms of case management. And as a part of that, they come back and said, in order to be in compliance with HIPAA, we need an agreement with you in terms of confidentiality. So that's all this is. Sandy has reviewed the contract, and she just suggested that you all approve it.
I'll make that motion.
Oh, thank you, Ms. Kraft.
Second.
Thank you, Ms. Gilkey. Any further discussion? All right. All in favor? It's like 7-0. Thank you. All right. Looks like the next one is the transportation contract for Jeffersonville High ROTC. Mr. Hare.
Sure. 8 and 9 are pretty similar. 8 is just a contract with Miller Transportation to take the ROTC unit from Jefferson High School to Lackland Air Force Base in San Antonio, and that's the attachment there. Kids are looking forward to it.
Be a long trip.
Long trip.
Long trip on a bus.
So moved.
All right. Thank you, Ms. Satterley.
Second.
Thank you, Ms. Gilkey. Any discussion?
They get to attend a military ball?
No, isn't that cool? They do, yeah. Isn't that
Wow.
cool? Yeah.
Will this be paid at the high school level or the corporation level?
High school level.
Okay. Out of their fund?
That is
Oh.
fundraising.
Fundraising.
Yeah, they're fundraising most of it.
Okay. All right. All in favor? 7-0. Thank you.
Number 9 is very similar. It's for the Jeffersonville High School theater group to take Miller Transportation to Lincoln, Nebraska for the International Thespian, and we're really proud of those kids, and they'll fundraise that as well. So they're already underway with that. So very proud of that group. You saw them perform at a board meeting, so.
We did.
Teresa and I said we'd go with them so we could see the play again.
I understand.
I like that motion.
That's great.
We
All
all
right.
So I guess that's a
I don't
so
need a
moved.
limited criminal tax.
Okay.
I've already had it done.
Okay.
So
All right.
and so moved.
All right. Thank you, Ms. Kraft. Second by Mr. Satterley. Any further discussion? All right. All in favor? All right. 7-0. Thank you.
Thank you, Boyd.
All right. Looks like the next one is the revision policy 5127, adjustment to graduation credit requirements. So, looks like we're going to...
We'll try a team this one here between Ms. Schellenberg, Dr. Mellon, and myself. We'll kind of try to answer the board's questions on this. I wanted to, I guess, start and kind of give the board a little bit of background of how this came about. And I think on the surface, when you look at it, it looks like, are we lowering expectations? Are we making things easier for kids? And that's really not the message that we want to send to the board, to the public, or to our kids. As the board is very much aware, we have been working very diligently to be consistent among our schools. And as we sat down, probably for the first time in several years, with all of our high schools, and we started looking at our course description guide, and that's where we make all the course selections, all the course offerings for our high schools that our kids can sign up for. That group is made up of our high school principals and our counselors, and literally, board, we started going through page by page. It took several hours to kind of look at all our policies to make sure that we're consistent. And one of the counselors brought this to our attention, and we believe that it's worthy of consideration and certainly our recommendation. Once upon a time, before Core 40, the board in Greater Clark said that students needed 46 credits to graduate.
The state requirement is 40. So we are requiring more credits than what the state requires. Some of our neighboring districts only require 42. So a kid that has 44 credits at Jefferson High School would be a dropout at Jefferson High School, could go to some of our surrounding areas, and could be a graduate. This board is familiar with the work that we've been doing for the last 18 months, really working hard to give kids different course offerings. You guys are familiar with Project Lead the Way, with our AP classes, with what we're doing career and college readiness. You know, we are doing a lot of things to increase the rigor so that kids are prepared when they walk out to face the real world. I think that when this policy was put into place, you know, the thinking was we're going to require more credits for kids to add rigor to what we offer kids in high school. Really, the state has taken the place with that with this Core 40 diploma. That Core 40 diploma is now, you know, really pretty much the standard diploma, and by having a Core 40 diploma, that's the requirement, that's what the state says, that the state is building in the rigor. So we think taking that in addition to now our accountability grade as part of the high school, as part of the accountability grade in the high school, as the board, you're familiar, is our graduation rate. We've got to get kids to graduate, and in essence, we're shooting ourselves in the foot. We're asking kids to have 46 credits when the state says 40, and that's how we're being measured. That's how we're being held accountable. And we've got a lot of people. There are a lot of teachers that are working every day very hard, very diligently, putting our initiatives in place, helping kids where they need to get. And a kid that's got 44 credits is a dropout because really it's a number that was arbitrarily made by the board many years ago prior to Core 40. As we were starting to research this and talk to our neighboring districts require 42, Noami, Floyd, West Clark, Clarksville, and I asked them why. And, you know, they said, you know, you're asking the right question. We put this in place before Core 40. Nobody has brought it up as a question, and I think that they'll start to address this, especially, again, the fact that it's part of the accountability grade on what letter grade we're receiving. We gave this a lot of thought. We put this around for, I don't know, a half an hour, 40 minutes, and really tried to weigh out pros and cons and where we're at and what we're doing for kids. Amy went back and we looked at to see how many kids are we really talking about at Jeffersonville High School. There are about 44 kids that have 30 to 38 credits. So as of the semester, so if a kid has 39 credits right now, that's a senior, they've got 7 classes to pass the second semester, that would get them to 46. So if we look at 38 and get 7, that would make them short. But those, if we go all the way down to 33 plus 7 gets to 40, there are 44 kids. It's a little under 10%, but it's a pretty significant group of kids that for whatever reason are going to be counted as a dropout because of an arbitrary number. We are working too hard for those kids. We've got too many things in place to kind of keep doing this to ourselves. What we believe is kind of an arbitrary, and I don't know if there's anything you wanted to add. Or
Travis?
Yes, ma'am.
Are we going to start this with the class of 2014-15?
We'd like to put this in place now. Those 44 kids are kids that would graduate in 14. They're seniors currently. That's why we feel like there's emergency. We would like to get this in the course description guide, and this would be 44 kids at Jeff High that we need to start counseling as to what we're going to do in order to get them to be graduates.
It's a little unusual to start it unless you start it with a graduating class.
I don't disagree with that. I think the difference is this doesn't really have anything to do with class rank or anything like that. It's more. I believe it's going to level the playing field for 44 of our kids. That, you know, at least I'd have to go back and look, but at least 30 of them could go to neighboring district and graduate, and we'll count them as a dropout if they don't do credit.
And it's not really, I agree with your first statement that it has nothing to do with the rigor of our diplomas, because the kids that are engaged in rigorous classes are going to have 50, 55, you know, and they're going to keep going until we tell them, you have to graduate.
That's right. And we've talked. I mean, I don't know that there's a college out there that says, how many credits did this kid have? Businesses don't look. They just want to see if they're
high school diploma.
If we want to go to a level playing field, why wouldn't we go to 42 credits to be comparable with the other districts around?
Because the state says that's what it takes is 40. I think we need to match the state And while I can't predict the future, Mr. Hall, I'm not sure that now that we've raised the question with these neighboring districts, they may be doing the same thing, because they arbitrarily, before 440, said it was going to be 42.
Okay.
Like the board here said it would be 46.
I think it's a key factor in all this is this accountability grade. There's such an emphasis on graduation rate. They want 90% graduation rate or above. As you know, we've made some progress. We're at 88% graduation rate. The ability for 44 more kids just at Jeff High alone, not even counting the number at Charlestown High or New Washington that may be impacted, significantly enhances the opportunity for our graduation rate to be enhanced, which is a big factor in the accountability grade, which did not exist, 3 years ago or more. So I agree the timing of all this is unusual, but we don't see any negative impacts related to, we see it as a positive impact for kids, and we don't see any negative impacts relative to anything else. And it's interesting because I went back online today, and if you go online, they have diplomas prior, what were the requirements from 2006, 7 beyond, and the now requirements from 2012, 13 and beyond. The state has made minor modifications in its requirements over the past several years. So for us, I think to be consistent with what the state expects, that Core 40 diploma is a very rigorous diploma now. We are making great inroads in improving not only the percentage of Core 40 diplomas, but the percentage of academic honors. That still stays at 47, which is the state requirement. So I think we'd fall in line with the state requirement, be consistent across the state of Indiana, and I think I personally, for the past couple of weeks over break, thought a lot about it. I feel it's the right thing to do for kids at this point in time.
Okay. I don't agree, so I'm going to tell you why I don't agree. First of all, the state has not fixed their new standards. I don't know why we can't put this on hold until they decide what we have to have, because we don't know what that is yet. So we went from 73% graduating to 88% while we were requiring this 46 credits. And the state grading system includes how many kids pass math and English at the end of course testing. And what are we going to give up in these credits? What are we going to give up in this rigor? In these 4 steps of rigor on the 3rd and 4th is what is concerning me about what are we giving up here?
They're just electives, aren't they?
What?
6
They're
electives.
just electives. You still have to have 4 years of
but
English and.
Okay, but when we're talking about rigor here, we're talking about giving up electives.
Mm-hmm.
I don't see how that matches. I don't get that.
A couple of things.
You're going to help me with that.
Yeah, well, I'm going to try. I think that being in this business a long time, I've always had a big, right. I've been have a big heart for kids, and a big heart for kids that come from difficult circumstances.
Right.
And I personally, as a school counselor, dealt with students who, because of family circumstances, were great kids. They were bright kids, but because of family circumstances, missed a whole semester of school, or missed for health-related or family-related, missed a whole year of school almost. And so I think we just need to be cognizant of the fact that in our community, we've got so many families that are just trying to find ways to make ends meet. We've got all kinds of staff and personnel busting their tails every day to do everything in our power.
Right.
We're not going to hand a kid a diploma.
No.
Our students have to earn these diplomas still. And the overwhelming majority of our kids are going to earn 56 credits because that's 7 credits every semester for 8 semesters. But this allows kids that have really been fighting the fight, who are coming from backgrounds that are very difficult and challenging, and it's still meeting the academic rigors that were established by the state related to when they decided to go to Core 40 in academic honors, the state, it was a long discussion and conversation to get there. So I feel like we're not giving up anything. I feel like we're really being more fair to kids who are trying to overcome adversity in their lives.
I have a personal child that was Do you remember my telling you last year, people that were on the board, that boy that I had from Jeff High School that didn't graduate, and he was on my husband's bus, and we took him in as our project. And he didn't graduate with the rest of the kids. But at the end of the summer, he graduated in the principal's office with a diploma and a big old smile on his face. And because the people at the high school were willing to take it on, we were willing to take it on because he only had a mother, but she was very proud that he made it. The fact is, the kid got it, and he did what he had to do to get there. I think what you're doing also is not thinking about how extremely talented the people in the trenches in this corporation are. We have probably the best set of principals and teachers I've ever seen anywhere, or we've had, and I've been in this business a long time. If anybody's capable of getting these kids to 46, they can. I mean, you're selling them all short because they can do this.
Well,
And I think a kid needs to know that they can do it. And I think you're rushing because the state is in the process of redoing this thing, and you don't know what they're going to come up with.
Yeah, they're not redoing, they're looking at Common Core standards from a curriculum perspective. They're not looking at graduation requirements. Those aren't being discussed.
Okay, but so all you're talking about is the numbers.
Yeah, just
instead of the quality that the child.
Right. We're not impacting the specific classes or the specific requirements. It just comes down to kids. It's 6 elective classes is what it comes down to.
But those are important, Dr. Millen.
Oh, I'm not saying they're not. Let me go back to one of your points you made about the quality of our people.
Yes.
The recommendation, I'm here to defend them. This was not any idea that I initiated, nor Travis, nor Amy. None of us here initiated this whole effort. This came out of our principals and counselors who were meeting and talking. These are the people in the trenches who are ultimately held responsible and accountable for these kids. They're the ones, and so I guess what I'm saying, Board, I understand your reservations and I respect that, but I want you to know this for sure. We are defending the people at the building level who have put forth this as something that they believe is very valuable and important to our kids. And we don't think we're selling anyone short. We don't think we're selling our kids short. We think we're doing the things that we need to do to help our kids be successful who are trying to overcome some difficult circumstances. They still have to pass the end of course exams. They have to still do all of that work here to get the diploma.
Yeah, Dr. Mel, I appreciate your support of our building level administrators. A couple questions I have. And one, retroactive, the timing of this, if kids have dropped out at Christmas break, are we going to get on the phone and say, hey, you got a shot, you coming back? If kids that dropped out last year, is there a potential lawsuit down the road, like you changed it at crazy time for so-and-so, what about for me? Have you thought about that? Is there possibilities of a lawsuit or anything?
Yeah, in terms of lawsuit and all that, that's nothing that would be concerning to us. The fact this year, right now, if I don't know of any students who have dropped out mid-semester, but if they did because they felt they had no hope of graduating, then those phone calls back to those kids would be made. If I was the principal at one of our high schools, and a kid dropped out Christmas time saying, you know what, there's no way I'm going to make 46, but I knew if this was adopted, I could get them to 40, I'd be on the phone making that call, because if not, they're going to be a dropout from my school. And we've told our principals that you're responsible and accountable for every single child in that building, and we expect them to flat out go to their homes if necessary and speak to the parents and pull them back in, because ultimately they must earn an Indiana high school diploma that will help them move to the next step. So we've thought about some of that.
And your argument about them transferring to other schools, those particular children that you're talking about aren't going to go anywhere because they have to have transportation to get there, and they don't have it. So they have to get on a bus that we provide and bring them to our high school.
What are the requirements for an adult ed diploma now?
Last year.
Adult ed.
Adult ed would be the same.
40? 40?
40.
40.
With this change, it would be.
Now, you're not talking about a GED, the new Indiana High School equivalency exam that goes into effect now in January. You're not talking about that.
No,
You're talking about just that, or potentially a general diploma that you can waive out of. We currently have had that at 42, that would go to 40.
Okay.
Very few of our kids go to that direction. Our kids go pretty much on the 440.
Okay.
I'd like to make a motion to accept.
Second.
Thank you, Mr. Satterley. Thank you, Ms. Gilkey. Further discussion?
Credits that are earned in middle school will still be counting toward the...
Well, a couple of observations. You know, when Dr. Millen first talked to me about this, I immediately thought we're lowering our standards, and then I actually had some conversations with quite a few people, and what I've gleaned out of the conversation is that the state didn't pull these numbers out randomly. I mean, they came up with these numbers based on what they thought, based on that we have a lot of rigor built into these numbers. And so, you know, no one can really say why we moved that number up to 46, but there's probably lots of data around why we have got it at 40. So, I mean, I'm perfectly fine with us exceeding state average on graduation rate, with it being, you know, all things are the same. So, that point, and then the second point is I had a discussion with a very good friend who does career counseling for this district, plus I think about 23 other high schools, and he really put it in perspective for me anyway. You know, he said it's a whole lot different discussion with students when they're sitting at about 38 and they need to get to 40 than when they're sitting at 38 and need to get to 46. And this is a guy that's been in the schools, been in the houses. You know, I've talked a good deal of time with these kids, and you know, he absolutely thought it was the right thing to do. And I mean, as you mentioned, I know the guy that was in the trenches. So, you know, I have to go with my heart on this one, is that this is going to be good for kids. I don't see it as lowering standards. I think it's putting us right on a level playing field, and then I'll be the first one to stand up and clap when we exceed those standards, because I think we will. And so anyway, just some commentary.
I agree with Mark. Anytime I get a chance, I speak with people that know a lot more about education than I do, and I've spoken with a couple of principals and guidance counselors in our system. So I feel like I can make a good vote for this tonight.
I think we probably all did that. I called our principals and guidance counselors, and you're right, it came from them. That's where this originated.
All right, further discussion? All in favor? And opposed? Be 6-1. Thank you. All right, Dr. Milne, looks like we're up for school grades.
Yes, and board, I know earlier this evening we had the good fortune of being able to celebrate and honor 9 A schools. But I also want to give you this chart that was produced by Karen Spencer. And the chart is color-coded, but basically you can see every school listed on the left-hand side. The points are basically, think about it in grade point averages, up to 4. So you can get up to 4 points. The first column is language arts points, whether they received a bonus or not. Bonus points are earned 1 point if you have high growth for the bottom 25% of your kids, or high growth for the top 75% of your kids. A deduction would take into account if you had exceeded the percent of low growth for all of your kids. Then you'd have your total English language arts grade. So you look at Bridgepoint. They started in terms of performance. They were at a 2.5. They did not earn bonus points. They lost a point because they had too many kids in low growth. So their total English language arts grade was 1.5. Then you look across the columns for math. It's similar. That's math performance. They earned a B. They did not earn a bonus point. They reduced by 1 deduction because of too many kids in low growth. So their total math score was a 2. Their average between the language arts and math was 1.75, so therefore they earned the D grade. Now you can look down all of our elementaries. I want you to note, it's easy to look at the reds. All the reds are deductions. All the reds relate to too many kids in low growth. And a key factor there, board, is that people will think about. They'll think, well, low growth, that means you probably have low-performing kids not performing high enough. Well, guess what? In many of our buildings, we have too many kids who are passing, and even pass plus, who are getting low growth based upon the state standards. So you can have pass plus kids in performance, but because they did not grow to the level the state has indicated, they get low growth. And that's what we're finding right now. And so what that tells us, board, is in terms of Tier 1 instruction in the classroom, trying to meet the needs in the regular classroom of all kids, we've got to really buckle down to differentiate to the greatest extent we can to meet the diverse needs of all those kids. We can't just focus on the low-performing students in our classes. Through our impact program, we are giving them the additional support, but that's where the red comes from. The green are all the bonus points, and I want you to take note of that. There are 14 and a half bonus points listed in total for language arts and then math, where deductions, you had 6.5 deductions in language arts and only 3.5 deductions in math. So we don't like the deductions. We want to do everything in our power to avoid the deductions. That's huge. Think about it. That's a difference between a B and a C grade, or a C and a D. So we've got to work hard on those low growth factors. Part of what our principals have done is they've looked at that and they are really breaking down those, because those are just numbers. We have to put names and faces to those numbers. Who are the kids that need to move out of low growth? Who are they specifically, and how are we going to get them there? So you can see the elementary listed. You see all of our A schools. We have North Haven and Bridgepoint as D schools. They are what's called focused schools. We have to have specific plans in place for them. We have been working very hard. Mrs. Hartledge and Mrs. Spencer are providing additional supports to those buildings to try to get them out of that D level. If you move down into the middle school, again, we didn't get any bonus points. You can see where they started in terms of their performance. You can see language arts is an issue. And I can tell you that we have been working extremely hard from a language arts perspective. Our middle school principals, for example, have taken upon themselves to bring language arts, middle school language arts teachers together by grade level to really break down that curriculum with our goal clarity process, producing LARs, looking again at the assessments. It's unacceptable that our performance in language arts at the middle school level is where it is. And so that is a major area of focus. I believe that we're working and moving in the right direction. And then River Valley also had a deduction in math. So you can see River Valley with a score of 1. That's very scary. Because the next step, obviously, is the worst step, and that's F. And that staff, Mr. Hare, Ms. Schellenberg, have been working hard to provide additional supports, not only to River Valley, but also to Parkview. So we're trying to do everything in our power to put forth the supports we need to increase those 2 D grades that we have at Parkview and River Valley. Now, it's important to note, you can see that the district elementary middle school score, and that's what the state ends up giving us, is they take all these scores, and it's not an average of all the averages. It actually, there's a numerator and a denominator, and it produced what ended up being a 2.75 or a C grade for our district elementary middle. But obviously, our Parkview and River Valley, those denominators were high because those are big schools. So it doesn't accurately reflect, I think, the overall performance of our elementary and middle schools, as you can look at the number of A's that we did receive. Then you come down to the high schools and you can see the bonus points and the deductions. The only deduction coming at Jeff High was in the performance of students on the end of course exams going from 8th grade to 10th grade, and that's a 0.5 deduction, both in language arts in math, and that's something that I think we can overcome.
Say that again.
Say that.
Say
I'm
what
sorry.
you just said again.
What happens is they're looking at a student level of improvement on end-of-course exams from grade 8 through grade 10. And so in the language arts area, they're looking at, in 8th grade language arts, they're looking at the ISTEP score versus the 10th grade, what they're getting as an end-of-course exam score. So they're looking at that level of improvement over time. You can see where we enhanced our growth. Even at almost every building, from 10th grade to graduation, our performance improved. We met the state requirements. But at Jeff High, we've got a little bit of work to do transitioning our kids, again, from middle school, which has been a bit of a struggle for us, especially in that language arts area, to the 10th grade level. But also look over and you can see graduation rate, 3.5 Charlestown High, Jeffersonville High School, and a 4.0 graduation. Now that's based upon certain criteria related to graduation at those three buildings. In the college and career readiness, you can see the grades that we were getting. Now those are for kids who have passed the AP exam, earned dual credits, earned an industry certification. So what we're doing is making a difference and making an impact there, and that's a big help. So you look at Charlestown High as a 3.58, they were an A school, and that's tremendous. Also, Jeffersonville High, they're a C, but they're continuing to grow and improve. New Washington High actually was an A, even though New Washington Middle was a B. Mm-hmm. And so because they're one school, they have a combined grade of a B, but I wanted you to see that differentiation. And so at the high school level, you know, the overall score was a 3.01 or a B, total grade for high schools. So we're not far. You know, our minimum goal as a corporation is a B, and I'm just hoping that everything that we're doing this year will get us there by this time next year, at least at that B level as a corporation. So I hope that helps lay out more specifically where we are across our district, and I've appreciated our executive team for all the work that they've been doing, helping to provide support to our schools. Our principals and their staffs are busting their tails to help and make improvements. And again, overall, our grades relative to last year are better overall than they were. So we are growing and we are making improvements. But any questions you'd have, I'd be happy to answer.
Didn't we change the math curriculum in the middle school this year? Okay.
All right. Well, Dr. Mellon, thank you for the update. And we know you and the staff are working hard. And we've talked about some action plans and all that are in place. And so we look forward to seeing that continue to grow in the right direction. So, all right. We have public comments tonight, I believe. Mr. Denton. I guess you know about the...
same 6 minutes I always get?
Same 6 minutes, all right. 3 good, 3 bad. So.
3 minutes. On your mark, get set. You've already started. Okay. Andy, I wanted to talk to you a little bit about parts of the Teachers Association. It's not just the GCEA here, but the support we have also through UNICEF, which mostly is NEA, the national organization, which helps us a lot with many things, with collecting data and lobbying type things on the national level, and also supporting each group of teachers on different state levels. ISTA probably does the most for our organization, and in just many ways, in support again of that UNICEF, where we know what's going on around the state and how laws are working and how they're changing and how we can affect different things. Right now, I mean, I know I'm talking to the choir, but I just wanted to talk to the choir. The state just can't afford to three school systems, and that's what's happening right now with supporting of the community public schools, which has been around since 1851, and now since 2001, the charter public schools, and 2011, the voucher program, and it's just making things tough on all of us on the public schools, because to support those other systems, they're taking money from the public school system. And again, that's thanks to choir. I know it's not agree. So again, the lobbying's coming up again to talk to different delegates. I wish the principals were still here, because I wanted to say we probably do have the best group of principals I've ever seen any place, anywhere. They're wonderful. And I think part of that's because they communicate with the teachers, and they talk with the teachers, and they know what's going on in the classrooms, and they've known that for a long time, and they interact, and they make sure things are going well. But the state level, they just help us a lot with many of those lobbying type things now with the laws, so we can now get on the bandwagon and write letters and do the things we have to do to influence, maybe change back towards the public schools, and that's all of us. I know many of you talked about this before. GCA local, I think probably the main thing we have besides bargaining, and of course bargaining may pick up right now. I understand we may get another $2 million, and if that's not spoken for, we want to bargain for that. We're ready to bargain. I have a bargaining team already. We met during Christmas, and we're ready to start bargaining. But the big thing is discussion. And again, to that communication piece, not only between the principals and each teacher in the school, but also discussion at those schools, but also corporation discussion. And again, it's really important. Some of the things we've been discussing a lot, and one of the teachers said, we're beating a dead horse here and we're discussing the same thing, but we haven't discussed everything fully, and things like the impact program and intercessions. I think we probably need more input, maybe teachers on the impact team, on the intercession team, excuse me. Gold carding windows is just a major thing for us, and the grades, when the grades are due, and those things. Those are local things that we're discussing. So discussion is just really important for the teachers. So with the three organizations, they all kind of work together, and I just wanted to bring that up to you tonight. Thank you very much. I appreciate everything you do.
Frank, I do have a question for you, though. And I don't know if I missed it this month. I always get the minutes from you, which I really appreciate. Did they not go out this month, or?
Dr. Millen and I we've been talking about minutes and how we're developing minutes, and we have different ideas on how the minutes ought to be. I think the minutes that I sent out are like through the teacher's eyes, how they see things, but there may not be total fairness in those that I send out, because they're the way we see things.
But that's their perspective, and personally that's what I want to see. So I'm requesting those. I don't know about anybody else, but
Let me clarify what we're trying to work on, and that is, in many places, what happens with discussion is that you have someone that takes minutes, and it doesn't matter whether it's on the teacher side or the administrative side, but someone takes minutes. And normally what occurs is that both sides end up reading those minutes, and then both sides sign off on those minutes. And if they don't sign off on them unless they feel that they accurately depict their version of events. The dilemma that we're facing, and I appreciate the discussion that we're having, is that our minutes that are being taken for the last several months are not approved. They've not been looked at or reviewed, and so that perspective is not being getting out there because we're not getting the sign-off on the other end. And so then what happens is the teacher minutes go out, and what happens is that it paints a picture that is a picture that's painted that may or may not be as 100% representative of both sides. And so then all of a sudden, it puts people in awkward positions. And so these discussions, whether it's impact or intercession or whatever it is we're talking about, to us it's important that we're both at the same table, and we both need to have an accurate measure of what's being said that we can both sign off on, so that when it goes out, it's fair to both sides. If not, what happens is on the teacher side, then they get a certain impression that may not be 100% accurate relative to the perception on the administrative team. And that's what's been happening since for a while.
So are we working on that?
I'd be okay. long as they're timely, one, and they're not being modified to the point. I guess if you have a version and you have a version, I'd like to see both versions.
Right.
Your opinion, your opinion. If we're gonna but minutes are minutes. Somebody who's taking minutes, like our minutes, it's illegal changes. I just want to see the minutes as accurate as I can get them.
And I agree
And timely.
with that. Accurate and timely. And we also talked about the fact that whoever took the minutes, that if the discussion occurred on a Tuesday, that those minutes would be prepared and reviewed and signed off on by Friday. And then they could be distributed on Monday. I mean, that's what we've talked about. And it didn't matter whether someone from GCA or us, I don't really care. But the minutes are taken, the minutes are reviewed by both parties. If there's a need to modify to be more accurately represent the discussion, so be it. And you know, when minutes are taken, it might be reflect that this teacher made this statement, and this administrator responded in this way. I mean, that's what minutes do.
Right.
So I just think that we're talking about what we hope will be a fair process and a timely process moving forward. And it's our hope, Frank just needed some more time to sort of review some things, and hopefully we'll have that conversation here within the next week or two, right?
Sounds good. Yep, I agree with the timely thing. Minutes that I sent out probably in October, you got within 2 days of the meeting.
Yeah.
I sent them out to everybody associated with, I don't know, all the teachers, and sent them to you, I sent them to the principal, I sent them, and that was one thing. But the idea was the teachers, a lot of them, they want to know, because they've discussed things at the building level, and they want to see that I carried these to the corporation level. And in corporation notes, it's nobody's fault, but sometimes those questions weren't indicated in those minutes that we did sign off on. So the minutes that teachers took, we knew we've asked this question, and it's real important to us that what answer did we get, and that get in the minutes. We wanted our question and the answer in the minutes, and that wasn't always happening. So maybe both minutes, or maybe we can come to this agreement with getting a timely, so we can get them out on Monday. That would be super if we could do that. I would like that. But it is something we have discussed and we've been going over for a couple of months.
Yeah, 'cause I was appreciating getting them, and I did appreciate even the ones where something was brought up and then to be discussed later. Well, then I knew it was being discussed, and that was enough sometimes. So whatever you guys come up with, let us know. We'll go from there. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Den. Appreciate it. All right. Board comments. Mr. Hall.
Yes, looking at those A to F scores, it brought up another point that I've mentioned it before. I'm going to mention it again. As of right now in Greater Clark, people that live in Utica area, Salem Noble Road area, Stacy Road area, they have one option if they want to get on a bus. It comes this way. We're losing kids that goes to other school corporations because they choose not to go this way. If we had two buses going through this area, you give kids an option to go to Charlestown Way, to come to Jeff Way, but we keep them in this corporation. We have great schools going on at Charlestown. We have outstanding schools in Jeffersonville, and why not give kids an option? Which school do you want to attend in our corporation? Don't lose them. Let's keep them here. Provide another means of transportation to get those kids going to Charlestown. You got two A schools sitting up there. So that's all I had.
Tracy?
Pass.
Pass. Kevin?
Nothing, thank you.
Nancy? Darren? Christina?
Well, I just want to say thank you to the board for the last 2.5 years of being able to serve as your president. It's a lot of work. It's a lot of responsibility. I mean, it truly is. You don't know until you do it. I mean, committees and communication and 7:30 a.m. board agenda setting meetings, and it's a lot of work. But I have appreciated the opportunity to do it, and I've done it welcomingly. I just want to say that a big piece of the reason why I've been able to do it is because I had a great vice president, and I appreciate your all support for Mark. He's going to do a great job moving forward, and I just wanted to thank you for helping me do a good job, and I commit to help you do the same.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay. Well, and I very much appreciate that. We've had great leadership over the last couple of years, and I have enjoyed serving with you. I love the piece of advice that you gave me. Don't screw it up, and that's the other I guess item I need to address is we need to do our list of committees. We've got the committees, and so I'd like for you all to look at those committees and then email me with, say, your top 2 or 3 choices, and then we'll get those assigned next board meeting. So if you all would do that for me. I can send that to you. I'll send them out to you, and then you can send me your choices. How about we do that? I'll send them to you, and then you send them back. So, and that's all I had, Dr. Mellon. So it's all yours.
I think the weather the last couple of days obviously has been sort of historic, and we're going to have school on time tomorrow. At least that's the plan of attack, unless there's some major shift overnight. Let's hope not. The state, as you know, has provided the opportunity for school districts to apply for a waiver. I personally have mixed messages or mixed feelings about that, because I think kids need to be in school more and not less. And but I understand we're going to go ahead and apply for the waiver, so we have it. But I'm not so sure 178 days of school helps us any more than the 180 days. But we'll apply for that waiver. And the other matter, board, is I know the board wanted to do some traveling board meetings, and we forwarded out a schedule to you so that over a 4-year period, I know it sounds like a lot, but trying to make sure with all the demands, we'll have 4 board meetings at schools 1 year and 5 board meetings at schools the next year, and over 4 years we'll hit all 18 schools. And we've tried to balance it geographically too, so that you can get out there and get that presence. So I appreciate your time and your support, and stay warm.
All right, need a motion to adjourn. Thank you, Mr. Satterley, and thank you, Mr. Hall. All in favor? All right, have a good night. Thank you.